In this video, I head down to the coast for sunrise, in the hopes of photographing some of the waterfowl that winters along the shores, as well as any shorebirds that would be foraging along the beaches. It was a cold and clear morning, and the sun rising over the horizon created some beautiful lighting. There were some ducks out on the open water, but they remained far away to get any decent shots. So instead, I switched gears and decided to take advantage of the amazing light and spend some time photographing the hundreds of gulls that are only a few feet in front of me. While the gulls are common and may not be the most exciting to photograph, it provided the opportunity to try new things and to try to make unique photos out of a common species. I share with you some tips on how I set up to try to get these unique photos and explain the benefits of photographing common species around you. I spent the day along the coast and eventually was able to locate some dunlins foraging along the beach, a species I'd never photographed before. If you're new to my channel, my name is Todd DeWald and I'm a full-time wildlife and conservation photographer in beautiful New England. It is my goal to take you along to explore the amazing diversity of wildlife that call this area home, sharing with you my education to make us all better naturalists and better photographers. It is my hope that my videos will spark an interest in the wildlife in your area, so that together, through photography, we can preserve the natural places that remain. Consider subscribing to my channel to learn more, and thank you for watching. Hello everyone, thanks for joining me today. I am out bright and early. The sun just came over the horizon, down along the Connecticut coastline, and I'm here to do some bird photography. There's hundreds of seagulls right in front of me right now. There's some brants that just landed, so there's a lot of activity right in front of me, and right now I'm just trying to take some overall pictures of all the seagulls lined up on the rocks, perched up on the rocks and on the beach. The brants are kind of foraging close to the shoreline, so my plan is to creep up to them a little bit, and I'm just gonna continue along this rocky shoreline and see what I can find. A lot of the seagulls are foraging right along the waterline of the beach, so I'm going to try to creep down in front of me here and try to get down a little bit lower to get eye level with them, because they're just flying so frequently. So I'm going to try to get some of them with their wings spread out as they're landing or foraging. The light is just so good right now, and you might be thinking, why am I taking time to photograph gulls? But I mean, the subject's right here, the lighting's perfect. Take pictures of what you have in front of you, right? So I'm going to see if I can get a little bit lower and hopefully get some images. I have two brants down right along the waterline here too. I'm just going to try to move really, really slowly. It's really hard with the brants because they're a really dark bird, and right now the one that's right in front of me is really backlit, so it's going to be kind of more of a high key image because I want to expose for the bird, right? So I'll see what happens here. Made it kind of into a crevice, and these two brants are being very, very tolerant of me. I'm trying to do some slow motion video because the waves are crashing pretty good on that rock, and I want to try to capture some of that water splashing up in slow motion. It'd be really nice looking. I want to take it really slow because gulls are very much like waterfowl, like geese. If you scare one, a lot of them fly. So I want to try to go very deliberate and slow so that they don't all take off. So I have about 20 or so gulls right in front of me. And they are foraging right along the water line. So this is nice. I've been here for a little while now, and I'm going to change my positions. I'm going to try to get out of here without scaring all the seagulls. They've kind of crept up pretty close to me, so I'm going to try to back off. My main goal today is to photograph sea ducks and some sandpipers. I haven't seen any. I've been looking in the flock of seagulls, thinking that there's probably be some sanderlings or anything other sandpipers in the mix, because it's a good flock to be in because there's so many seagulls. They're going to be able to alert you to any predators or any dangers. But I haven't seen any, so I'm going to move on. Before we get back to the video, I just wanted to take a minute to mention, if you're in the Connecticut area and interested, take a look at my guided session options. It's getting close to prime season for waterfowl photography in the next few months, and this is an opportunity for you to come out into the field with me and learn the techniques I use firsthand to get the photos and videos that I do. If waterfowl photography is not your thing, we can do other wildlife photography as well. More information can be found on my website and down below in the description. I'd love to hear from you. I also wanted to mention that I finally started getting consistent in writing my blog on my website. Go ahead and check it out, and be sure to subscribe on my website to get them delivered to your inbox. I go into a wide range of topics, and I'm able to expand on things in more detail than I do in the videos. Now let's get back to the video. So wintertime is the best time of year, or really the only time of year, to see some of these ducks down on the coastline. So we're going to see if there's anything out and about, and hopefully find some sandpipers or sanderlings or any other kind of shorebird foraging along the rocks. All the gulls are still hanging out around the coast or along the high water mark. And yeah, it's a beautiful morning out. I've come down and I'm pretty much right in line with the high water mark, and I'm going to try something different. I'm going to try to do a slow shutter speed with these seagulls. I have probably about 100 seagulls right in front of me, and they're all at the high water mark, flying up, going and foraging. So I'm going to try to do a slow shutter speed to capture the waves crashing in and capture them flying up. Try to get some movement in their wings and just movement in the scene. I don't know if I'm going to like it or not, but I'm going to try something a little different. I spent a few minutes with the gulls, trying to get some images with the water crashing down on the birds. I then moved farther down the beach, into a rocky section, and set myself up to enjoy the waves, and caught my first glimpse of a flock of shorebirds flying by.
It just flew past again. It's approaching high tide now, so they don't have as many places to forage or to be. And so what they do is they fly around in these flocks, really close to the surface of the water. They kind of fly around all different directions, change directions. It's really neat because when you can see them change directions, the whites of their bellies show all at once. It's like a flash of white. It's really neat to see. But they just flew back over this way again, which is nice because that's the direction I'm headed. So maybe we'll still have some luck. Haven't seen much of anything for sea ducks yet, which is disappointing, but it's also approaching high tide, so things might get a little bit more active as the tide changes and goes back down. But I'm just gonna kind of sit here right now because it's high tide. The waves are really crashing down on these rocks right in front of me. I'm gonna try to get some video and some photos of the waves crashing over. Yeah, and the sun's kind of behind some clouds, so it's a really good opportunity.
I moved a little farther down the beach and found another large flock of gulls foraging. I positioned myself behind a large piece of driftwood to conceal myself and set myself up as low to the water level as I could, while still being able to see over the rocks on the shore. There were many gulls in the water that were riding the waves, and I wanted to capture some of this wave action in the photos. Getting low allowed for the background to be ocean and waves, while also allowing the rocks on the shore to be in the foreground to add some color. I was using a fast shutter speed to be able to freeze the motion of the wings and also the water crashing in. I was pretty happy with some of the results. While trying to capture the birds that were a little farther out and in the waves, I resorted to using manual focus with focus peaking to make it easier to identify what was in focus, and it made it easier to keep the birds in focus when they disappeared behind a wave, rather than the autofocus jumping and locking onto the wave. Even though I am photographing gulls that are a common species, all the skills and techniques I'm using can be easily used for photographing other species that you may be more interested in photographing. This is why I really advocate for spending time with common species. It allows for opportunities to practice different skills and learn new skills, without the risk of worrying about missing the shot if you try something new with a rare species or one that you really want to photograph. By developing your skills now with common species, you'll be more confident in your abilities to capture the images you want when the opportunity to photograph that rare species arises.
The lighting on the water is really nice right now. It's a lot of nice like turquoises and oranges and yellows. And I'm trying to get some waves crashing down with the seagulls on the rocks. It's pretty fun. It's fun to try to do something different. I found the shorebirds that were flying around. I actually was sitting here photographing or getting some video of the sea ducks out in the water, and I saw the flock fly past. I was able to get some nice pictures of them. They actually landed down on the beach about 100 yards away from me or so, so I'm just going to try to creep over really slowly and try to get set up and get some pictures of them. They're foraging and kind of resting right along the high water mark, and I'm just going to try to creep close to them. Took my camera off the tripod because I'm going to get really low, and we're just going to see what happens here. I'm hoping that they don't fly off, but they seem pretty tolerant as long as you don't get really close to them, because there's been some folks walking along the beach here. So we're gonna see what we can do. I'm hoping they'll come a little bit closer towards me. I don't really want to go closer towards them because I'm afraid I'm going to make them flee and not come back. So I'm going to try to have them just come towards me, and hopefully they'll accept me for being here. I'm kind of behind a log to hide my presence a little bit. And yeah, awesome.
In the field, I had misidentified these little shorebirds as sanderlings. I later identified them as dunlins, which is a species I'd never photographed before. These shorebirds winter farther north than many other shorebirds, and in the winter they have a drab gray coloration. During breeding season, they turn a beautiful rusty brownish red, making them look like a completely different bird. It was really nice to be able to sit with them and watch them forage and preen among the small rocks on the shore. Well, it's gotten windy and cold this afternoon, but the tide is going down, so all the rocks on the shoreline are being exposed. And it's also good because Now it's a lot flatter. I can get a lot lower to the water level and kind of be a lot more level with the water and where the birds are. There's still a large group of brants that are out here, and the goldeneye and the eiders are still pretty far out. But the shorebirds, the sanderlings, I'm pretty sure they're sanderlings, have come back finally, and I'm just trying to get a little bit closer to them, a little bit more in position, but I'm really hoping that they stay, because now they're all amongst these rocks, and it's a lot more interesting, a lot more colors involved, because there's lots of greens from the algae and then the shells and the rock color. So I'm hoping I can get close enough to them and get some images with them. This is really nice. They're about 15 yards in front of me, and they're all kind of congregated on these rocks, and they're just right now kind of preening, taking a break, but they actually came a little bit closer to me than when I set up here, so it's really nice. There's actually a lot of them kind of spread out within these rocks. Just like that, they all just flew off. I'm not too sure why. Everything just took off from the beach. There's not even anybody around. So I'm just gonna move farther down the beach and see if I can relocate them. I was waiting for a little bit to see if they'd circle back around and land back where they took off from, but that wasn't the case. So they probably flew off down farther that way. So I'm gonna see if I can go relocate them. All right, I just found some more. It's amazing how well they're camouflaged and blend in with the rocks. So I'm just going to creep back down to water level, which is pretty much usually where they forage. And this group looks like they're actually foraging, so that's nice. Get some more action shots. I'm just going to set up. Oh God! Oh. Sometimes you just gotta get a little wet. This is really nice. So the rocks are still a little wet. So there's just a lot of different textures and colors, which is really nice. It's a little bit more interesting than the shots where they're just all perched up on the shells. They're all kind of heading away from me, so I'm just skirting around them, kind of setting myself back up ahead of where they're headed so that maybe they'll continue going in that direction and they'll walk right towards me, because right now I'm just getting a lot of the backs of the birds, which isn't really what you want. So I'm hoping that this way they'll continue going in this direction and I'll just be ahead of them so I can get the fronts of the birds, kind of see what they're doing. That's the plan, at least. I've successfully gotten ahead of where the birds were, but they've kind of stopped moving in this direction. They've kind of just hunkered down and taken a nap. So I'm just waiting for them to start moving again. Hopefully they'll come this direction, but we'll see what happens. There's a good number of them in this area. can't tell how many there are because they blend in so well with the rocks. But I'm just gonna sit here and wait, and hopefully they'll start foraging again and coming towards me. Just want to thank you for coming along with me today. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you kind of saw the benefits of being able to photograph some common species that you might see every day, but trying to do some unique things with them. Test your limits, see what else you can do, kind of get out of your comfort zone, and you might come home with something really nice. So thank you for watching. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you next time. Thank you.